Cannabis industry compliance. Hi, I'm Ed Nodlin, co-founder of Jetstream Innovations. JSI was hired into the regulated cannabis industry in 2016 due to our background working with state, federal, and international regulations. Let me get myself off the screen. We have been providing high-risk client audit programs to banks since 2017. These audits are based on state-specific cannabis regulations. Also, JSI is an active member of ASTM International Committee D37, a standards organization producing international cannabis standards. I will demonstrate our recently developed program that is based on an amalgamation of several state regulations, ASTM standards, and experience. Since this product is not based on a specific state's regulations, it applies to banks in any state or multiple states that have a regulated cannabis industry. The assessment questions are generally grouped into 8 categories that fit into 2 areas. The first is documentation review, which includes policies, procedures, training, and records. The second is site review. This includes facilities, equipment, materials, and process execution. Questions are asked to assess each of these areas, such as, are the required and necessary policies established? Are the procedures defined, documented, accessible, and current? Are management and staff properly trained on the policies and procedures, and are key personnel qualified to perform their responsibilities reliably? Are required records retained to meet regulation and business requirements? And I'll note that the records come from every one of these 8 categories. On the site review, are the facilities built per design to meet production, safety, and security regulations? And are the facilities properly maintained? Are all equipment properly installed, calibrated, clean, and sanitized as required? Are materials properly received, stored, handled, segregated, packaged, labeled, shipped, and disposed of? This includes raw and in-process materials, final products, byproducts, waste, packaging and labeling supplies, pesticides, water supplies, and more. And the last category is, do observations and interviews with staff indicate that the policies and procedures are followed, and are the records recorded timely and submitted for retention? With that, I'm going to jump into a little bit of a demo of the assessment program. Here I'm inside of Gapcross on the home dashboard. I can start new assessments from here. I can also be in my assessment screen where I manage my assessments, and I can start an assessment at this point. So I'm just going to call this assessment demo 9, since it's the 9th. And I'm going to pick the program I want this to be based on, which is the Client Risk Assessment version 3. I could associate a client with this. I'm just going to uncheck this and jump right straight into the assessment. So here I see the different sections in the assessment. And in addition to the categories that we saw, records has been broken out with a separate section on track and trace, and facilities has been broken out with a special section on security. But they basically fit into the 2 categories they follow. There's a few questions up front, just introductory questions, summary section. I'm going to jump into the scope section here. And what I want to do is click on a couple of them in particular. What type of operation is being assessed? Here I can select whether the operation being assessed has cultivation, manufacturing, retail type licenses, or if it's just one of them. I'm going to pick retail. I'll pick retail, manufacturing, and cultivation. When I hit the proceed button, you'll notice that'll kick in some additional questions, not just in the scope section, but also throughout the rest of the sections here. As questions are answered, they turn blue, and as entire sections are answered, the sections also turn blue. I'm going to jump down into a section here on procedures and just randomly pick out a question. This is a good one here. Do the procedures for receiving shipments address the following? And there's a list of them here. And in the tinier print is also auditor or assessor tips. These tips can be easily adjusted. The questions to select from that have been designed into this assessment is yes. There's minor issues, moderate issues, major issues, or serious issues. The scoring that comes into the report, you get full credit for the question, you know, if it's a yes, and then it goes down in percentages as issues become major or to serious. Observations and comments can be made by the assessor, as well as clicking this icon here. You'll be able on a mobile device, be able to take pictures. And also on any device, you can add attachments. Just click that. I'm not sure what folder it's going to pop me up into, but I can pick a file out here and add attachments. There's also references by clicking on, in a lot of our assessments, the state-specific ones, clicking a reference would take you to the state regulations where you can see the data. Since this is an amalgamation of many states, I do not have reference links in that take you any point at this place, but we are looking at developing the ASTM standards, and then that will take you to this. When cannabis becomes regulated at the federal level, there will be federal regulations that apply to everybody, and we'll be linking into those types of regulations and hopefully even working with the regulators to help them get a nice set of regulations in place. In addition, you can take auditor notes. These are notes you take for yourself. You may find something that's non-conforming. Let's say I have some major issues, and let's go ahead and proceed here. But now I want to go back to it. And I want to add some notes. You know, I need to follow up on this before completing the assessment. So I can put that note in for myself, and later I can come back and find that. Now, if I just jump to another question, I can find questions that have gaps, and that happens to be one of them now. I can also find questions that are unanswered, and that'll just show me the ones that have not been answered. I can also search for particular questions. Say I want something on cameras. If I spell it right, I'll just put in camera. Oh, and I get rid of the gaps. Search all questions with the word camera. And I find I have some questions inside of records and security. So that pretty much covers very, very quickly what it looks like going through and doing an assessment. Basically, I'm just clicking off here. I'll just say yes on this one and proceed. You know, and you're just clicking through the different camera questions in this case. And if I remove that, I see all the questions. Now, once all the questions are answered, you can get in here and close it up and complete it. And that automatically produces a report. So with that, I'll wrap this up. If you have any questions, would like to learn more about this, go ahead and give me a call or email me. Be glad to talk to you. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Bye.